Somos tu mundo, somos teu mundo. We are your world. Radio TV con Rosario Sueida, transmitiendo desde Boston, Massachusetts. Entrevistas, reportajes, información, temas de actualidad y mucha música. Somos tu mundo, somos teu mundo. We are your world.
Estamos con el representante republicano al Departamento de Estado, Anthony Amore. Welcome, Anthony. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Fine. Thank you for asking. Anthony, the reason that we are here is because we need to ask you exactly what are the functions, illustrators, what are the functions of the Department of State, the job description?
Sure. Well, the Secretary of State's main role, the one that people know him best for, is to be the chief elections officer. So every election that we have throughout the state, ultimately he has a role in making sure that it functions properly, that the information is distributed to the public properly, that they're secure, and that when the votes come in, that he certifies the election.
It's a very important function. So I would like to ask you also about Anthony Amore. Can I have a little bit of your background?
Sure. I live in Swampscott. I have two daughters. I spent the first 15 years of my career with the federal government, and I worked for the Immigration Service. They used to call it the INS. Mm-hmm. I worked as a special agent with the FAA Security Division, overseeing airports. And then after 9/11, I worked to rebuild security at Logan Airport. You know, Logan is where the two aircraft took off that struck the Twin Towers. So we rebuilt security at Logan. I worked on a big team with Homeland Security. After I worked there for a number of years, I went over to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, where the biggest art heist ever happened. And I work on the investigation, and I do the security for the museum. We have billions of dollars worth of art in the museum. And so I have a lot of experience doing security and making sure that the public has access to airports and museums, and now I want to do it for elections.
Well, it sounds very interesting and very difficult labor to do. Well, I would like to ask you, because you've been working for immigration for so many years, I would like to ask you why you are here with me, with this Latino community. We need to know.
Well, you know, I think there's some misconceptions about immigration. When I was working for immigration, one of the great honors that I had was to help people become citizens and to help refugees come into the country. This was in the early 1990s, so most of the refugees I worked with were from Bosnia or from Vietnam. But I worked with a lot of people from the Latino community, and I found them to be great. I love Latino culture and the people, and they're warm, and they contribute to the United States. And working for immigration allowed me to help people do it legally, and I think that's very important. So when I think about elections and I think about Latino immigrants who became citizens being able to vote, I think that's beautiful. It's the most important thing a citizen can do. I want to make sure that the Latino community comes out and votes, and I also want them to know that Republicans aren't the enemy, that we care about them too, and that's why I'm doing this tonight. I want to reach out to the Latino community and ask for their support as I run for this important office.
Well, I think the next question is, why are you running for Secretary of State?
Well, I think most people know from the 2016 election that there were a lot of stories about attempts to hack our elections, whether they be from Russia, other countries, people in the United States. And I've done a lot of work, high-profile security work, like I mentioned, after 9/11 and at the museum. And I think the next big challenge is securing our elections. I believe that the vote is precious. It's a sacred right that we have as citizens, and it must be accurate and it must be safe and protected. So because I have this experience helping people have access, but in a secure way, I think that I can make a real impact on our elections in Massachusetts. So that's the real reason that I decided to run. The other reason is I believe in public service. So I spent my whole career working in public service, and I plan to continue my career in public service. So I think this is a good way for me to give back to this commonwealth that I love.
I'm glad. And one of the things that I notice is you only are not aware of the Latino community. You are very aware of all diverse groups around the area where I appreciate, I love diversity.
I do too. You know, it's really, I really appreciate you saying that. You know, I come from originally, when I was a young man, grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, which is a very diverse city, especially in terms of Latinos. And then when I moved to Massachusetts many years ago, I moved to East Boston, which again has a very rich Latino community. And now I live in Swampscott, which is next door to Salem in Lynn. So again, the Latino community is strong there, but not just the Latino community. I want to reach out to the African American community, to Asian community, Cambodian community, Haitian community. I just think that everybody here has a voice. Everybody who took that step to become a citizen values their vote, and I want to make sure that I speak to them all, and I want their support.
Okay. And I just have a last question, and it's something personal, I think. What do you approve Charlie Baker?
I think that Governor Baker has been an outstanding governor. I think that, I live in Swampscott, so I got to speak to him over breakfast not long ago, and we've been to many events together. And the one thing that strikes me about Governor Baker is that he really cares about people. It's not an act. When you talk to him away from the cameras and away from the crowds, you can see when problems like that happened in Lawrence and Lowell with the gas explosions, or you see the opioid crisis and such. He really cares about the people that this has affected, and it inspires me. So I'm very proud to be running with Governor Baker. We're teammates, and it's a great honor to be on his ticket, and I know he cares about the community, everybody. He's a big tent, inclusive type of person, so I'm proud to be running with him.
Thank